Forrest Breyfogle here. In this session, I'll be talking about positive metric performance, poor business performance. How does this happen? At the first portion of this paper, there's a table, Effective Management Attributes. In this table, there's 5 bolded items: executive performance management reviews, decision-making process, strategies, scorecard reporting, organizational improvement efforts. Often I ask people if they have any issues with one of these points that are listed. Often what they say, we have issues with all of these listed items. The integrated enterprise excellence that this paper covers addresses all of these issues that were listed in that table. Now, the way I like to start discussion of how does the IEEE system address all these issues is I like to start with scorecards. A red, yellow, green scorecard shown in figure 1 is an actual scorecard in an organization that I was given permission to use. Now, what are you going to be doing with this form of reporting? Well, I had someone who attended one of my presentations make a statement that he was responsible for a metric in a red, yellow, green scorecard table, and it was red. The next month it changed to green and he didn't do anything. He said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, of course you take credit for it," with a smile on my face, "but keep working on that particular metric and trying to figure out what to do to improve it, because if you don't do anything to improve it, it's surely going to change back to red again." Figure 2 shows a table of numbers. Now, often with the table of numbers, people compare this month to last month or this month to previous month, but is it really looking at the overall organization as a system? Now, what we have is Y as a function of X. So the output of the process is a function of what happens in the process. But red, yellow, green scorecard on a table of numbers, if that's what you're using to manage it, you're kind of managing to the Y's. But you really need to figure out X's that you need to improve. So what I'm suggesting, a table of numbers has some fundamental issues. Figure number 3 provides another form of report. Now this shows metrics over time, but what the heck are we going to do with it? Now figure number 4 talks about trying to meet yearly numbers. Well, what happens magically when we start at the beginning of first month of a fiscal year? We're going to throw everything out from the previous year? Well, that's not necessarily good. Processes don't magically change between last month of a fiscal year to the first. Now, how might we better report these metrics? What I'm suggesting is we report the metrics from a high level, or what I call 30,000 foot level reporting, and a satellite, which is a financial metric, and we get a high level view of that, and we looked at whether the process is stable or not. And when we do it this way, we can actually make a prediction statement, which is shown at the bottom of the figure. Now, if we have all the values within the upper and lower control limit lines, and we say our process is stable. Now we can go in and exclude with our software some points that are outside of that if they're close, and we think they could be a source of common cause variability occurred by chance. Now we shouldn't talk about all the ups and down variability that we have within this particular realm. Now if we have all these values within these control limits, then we can say our process is stable. We can provide a prediction statement at the bottom of the chart. Now one might say, well, this is simply a control chart, and I say, no, it's not really. It's an individual's chart. I won't disagree, but we're putting a high level view, like in this case months, so it's not trying to control anything. Now what we like to do is, now we can build a hypothesis to gain insight to what we might do differently, but we don't want to talk about all the ups and down excursions. Now to illustrate the concepts of common cause and special cause variability, let's consider the time it takes you one commute from home to work by way of car. Well, let's consider it takes you 25 to 35 minutes to compute, and we want to reduce this time to 32 minutes. So next day, what happens is 33 minutes. What happened? Why didn't we meet our goal? Well, we said if you got common cause variability 25-35 minutes, you shouldn't talk about individual points. It's just we did there. So that way of management is not any different than red, yellow, green scorecards. Now if it took us an hour longer, then we can look at that particular point in time and say why did that happen? It might be inclement weather or major traffic accident. Now if we don't like the answer, we really got to do something different. So let's consider we left a half an hour earlier to beat some traffic, and sure enough, it takes us 18 to 22 minutes. So the point is in order to make improvements when we got common cause variability, you have to prove the process. Now the question is, how do we have this form of reporting throughout the organization? The way we can do that is from an IEE value chain, where the IEE value chain describes what you do and how you measure what's done. So the top functions across the top describe main function in the organization. In this case, a hospital, voice a customer, is sales and marketing, deliver clinical services, and voice collect, report financials. These support functions are shown below. Now in the case of food service, I'd venture to say nobody goes to a hospital for food service, but it is important within a hospital to have good food service. We like to have this clickable, and we have software that can accomplish that. So if we click on deliver clinical service, we notice we got two swim lanes. Now the top swim lane looks at the metrics from a relative to quality, cost, and time, and that's the Y outputs that I was talking about earlier. The X inputs to that is shown below, and that's the processes associated with it. So basically have Y as a function of X. Now the way most organizations manage is the north wing of the big figure wing, north wing of the building is figuratively the output of the process. They look at the metrics, where the south wing of the building looks at the inputs and documentations that are associated with the process and also improvements associated with that. But often these two different wings don't talk to each other. That's a problem. So what we'd like to do is make it so that we have this form of value chain reporting throughout the organization. We can figure out what to do to improve our processes. Now the 9-step IEE system is shown in the top swim lane here, where we've got step 1, vision and mission, and now step 2 is the value chain, which describes what you do and how you measure what's done, satellite levels or financial metrics, and 30,000 foot level operational metrics. Then step 3 is analyze the enterprise. Now we want to look at the value chain metrics, but also voice of the customer, the current economy. We want to look at competition. We want to look at the bottlenecks we might have. We could also compare various departments and so on. And then step number 4, we want to create SMART, specific, measurable, action, relevant, time-based satellite or financial goals. Now often organizations set next month goals. We want to meet so many shipments next month. Well, the problem with that is if we're not meeting our shipment for this month, we might go in and pull orders from future months to this month at great expense to the organization. We'll worry about next month. That's not what I want to do. I want to create financial goals. For example, we look at profitability. We're going to look at that over years, and we want to improve the average profitability per month, and the question is how we're going to do that. Now the only way to do that is improving our process. Now the next step is strategies, which is aligned to the financials, and these are targeted strategies. Now I was doing a session similar to this in Bolivia where I was talking about the 9-step system, and a manager made the statement, we just created our strategies in an executive retreat where they aligned to the vision and mission that we had for our organization. And I said, well, which one really makes more sense, to align that to there or to the financials? And after some discussion, they agreed the financials make a lot more sense. So I want to have targeted strategies here, not words like I want to be the best of the best. Then in step 6, we want to look at 30,000 foot level metrics that have owners that we want to improve, that are aligned to our strategies and our financials. Now, how can we improve those? Well, we can do Lean Six Sigma projects in 7, or we could do a plan to check accurate Kaizen. I really don't care. We just need to improve the metric. And then in step number 8, we want to show the improvement through the staging of a 30,000 foot level chart. And now we want to maintain the gain so that we don't go back to the old ways. And we notice also that loops back to steps 3, so we got somewhat of a Deming plan to check act for the enterprise as a whole. Now we notice there's an enterprise improvement plan. So let's look at what that might look like. So step 1 of the IWC system is vision, mission. Step 2 is analyze. Step 3 is create financial goals. Step 4, 5, and 6, and 7 are shown here. Now we notice the projects have financial goals that we're trying to achieve in 30,000 foot level reporting, and then we also have an owner that's shown in step number 6, and that's lined as strategies and then the overall business goal. Now notice here we got reduced wastage. So we want to demonstrate improvements in wastage over time. So how are we going to do that? Well, we do that through examination of 30,000 foot level chart, and now we notice overall wastage reduced by the amount that was shown in that EIP that was shown above. Let me move back to that. You see the bottom one here, want to reduce wastage by 10% in 8 months. So you can see how we accomplished that through this. And this is an actual scorecard. I didn't fabricate the data. So basically, what this paper describes is a high-level view of the Integrated Enterprise Excellence System, which is built upon a lot of the concepts that have been described over the years.